In this video, I'm ranking every mainstream argument for mass immigration into one of 4 tiers: strong, flawed, NPC, and the abyss. I'll also be briefly addressing and debunking each one. And before someone cries racism, I say this as an immigrant. I'm not against immigration. I'm against the mass importation of cultures that refuse to assimilate. For this video, I'm defining the pro-mass immigration stance as support for large-scale migration, legal or illegal, from cultures where assimilation is unlikely. After all, the difference between immigration and invasion is assimilation. Quote, "Diversity is our strength." Cute slogan, but also nonsense. I could just as easily say unity is our strength. There's a type of diversity that is useful, a diversity of ideas. But the people shouting this slogan seem allergic to that one, and on the world stage, unified cultures objectively outperform fragmented ones. Just look at Asia. Maybe the slogan you're looking for is, assimilation is our strength. NPC tier. Quote, "We're a nation of immigrants." Mostly an American slogan. And sure, but immigrants from where? Historically, most immigration into the US came from Western Christian nations, which assimilate easily into a country built from the same civilization. Most America First people would be perfectly fine with immigration like that, but the modern argument is for importing people from cultures that have repeatedly shown that they do not assimilate. This is a slogan pretending to be a point. NPC tier. Quote, "Mass immigration is unstoppable." Completely false. Plenty of countries control their borders just fine. If Japan, a nation of a collapsing birth rate and aging population, can do it, we have no excuse. This argument exists purely to demoralize you. Abyss tier. Quote, "Immigrants do the jobs we don't want to do." Economic absurdity. There's no job a local won't do. There are only wages people won't accept in a country flooded with cheap foreign labor. Look at IT entry-level jobs. Look at construction. Workers sit at $20 an hour forever because their bosses can hire 3 undocumented laborers for the same price. That's not an abstract theory, that's a stolen livelihood. This argument openly admits wage suppression is the goal. And remember, the minimum wage, which these people love, was originally introduced as an anti-immigration tool. Combine mass migration with minimum wage laws and congratulations, you just manufactured unemployment and dependency. Abyss tier. Quote, "They contribute more in taxes than they receive." This falls apart the moment you look at low-skill immigration, which is the majority, especially in Europe. And it ignores the massive cost of public facilities, schooling, policing, welfare, and accommodating a foreign culture. NPC tier. Quote, "Immigrants commit fewer crimes." A heavily engineered statistic. It excludes second-generation crime, which is dramatically higher, ignores deportations that artificially suppress recidivism, and compares the entire native population to a cherry-picked, self-selected subset of migrants. Even then, the supposed gap collapses the moment you separate high-skill immigrants from low-skill mass inflows. At best, this argument is misleading. At worst, it's propaganda. And if you're in Europe and you've been paying attention, you know this is one of the cruelest lies we've endured. Abyss tier. Quote, "We need mass immigration for higher GDP." Yes, adding more people increases GDP. So would importing 10 million houseplants. GDP is not a measure of well-being. What matters is GDP per capita, and that drops. Despite the boomer economics, GDP up does not, in fact, mean world gooder. NPC tier. Quote, "We need immigration to save Social Security." You created a nationwide Ponzi scheme. It's collapsing. And your solution is to import more people to prop it up for a few extra decades, while wrecking wages, opportunities, and social cohesion. This doesn't fix the problem, it delays it and magnifies the damage, and it makes your children pay the cost for your terrible decisions. Vile. Bottom of the abyss tier. Quote, "Immigrants are more entrepreneurial." Cherry-picked. This includes everyone from actual business owners to people who signed up for DoorDash. Let's not play stat games about what immigrants are more likely to do. You won't like where that goes. Flawed tier. Quote, "We have a moral obligation to let them in." Okay, unlock your doors at night and let strangers in. Oh, you won't. Same logic, it's good to want to help people. And we should help refugees who share compatible values and can assimilate. But people from radically different cultures should go to countries that are culturally closer. And the fact that those countries didn't want them is extremely telling. A government's primary moral obligation is to its own citizens. Flawed tier. Quote, no human is illegal. Cute slogan, but meaningless. You don't apply this logic to your home, but for some reason the West is supposed to. Every nation on Earth has borders. We're simply asking to enforce ours. NPC tier. Quote, immigrants are vital for technology. Poaching top-tier talent from other countries is logical, even ruthless. That's why the H-1B program exists. The issue, 80% of H-1Bs are for entry-level positions. So we're not selectively importing world-class engineers and scientists, we're flooding the bottom. With the only advantage being for the corporations who can hire low-tier specialists that perform worse than locals, but accept subsistence-level wages. If the argument was just about the top 1% of thinkers, this would be a strong tier, in theory. But that's not what mass migration means. That concludes the tier list. If there are any other arguments for mass immigration I missed, leave them in the comments.